Is this a great game or what? Our Little League World Series edition with the Hall of Famer Tim Kurkjian, my dad. I'm Jeff Kurkjian, and we are so excited to be here for this episode.
Right, and this is, Jeff, my 10th Little League World Series, and it's been my favorite one, mostly because I'm doing it here with you.
Oh.
You came here last year, and it was fabulous, but this time we're doing a podcast from here. Plus, our interview today is Todd Frazier.
Oh, incredible.
Who is the grandfather of the Little League World Series. He is the greatest guy ever to talk about this, and we'll have him on. He's going to make you laugh for 30 minutes. That much I promise. This is all about family, and we have some family here today.
As we bring in some family, we want to thank our friends at GameChanger, #1 rated youth sports app for live streaming, scheduling, and scorekeeping. They cover over 7 million games annually and 1 million teams a year. And we bring in my nephew, Benny. What's going on, dude?
Hello.
Hello. All right, hold on. Let me adjust. There we go. So tell me, what's your favorite part of being here at the Little League World Series?
Probably going down the hill.
Going down the hill.
And how many times, Ben, did you go down the hill?
Probably 39.
Did
Wow.
Grandpa go with you?
Yes, but Grandpa couldn't make it down the hill.
So, Grandpa, come closer to me so we can see you in that video shot. So, Grandpa, you are my father-in-law, but also this is Benny's first time. Is it cool bringing a 7-year-old with you?
Oh, yeah. The experience of a 7-year-old, no kid should miss it.
Absolutely.
Right. And again, this is what the Little League World Series is all about, that a grandfather takes his grandson and sits and watches all these games, international games, American games. Can't tell you in all my trips here how many grandfathers, grandsons, mothers, fathers, everywhere. They're everywhere. This is a family trip for people. It's so great.
Well, thank you, you two. 3 o'clock today on the day of filming, so this is Monday. West is playing Mountain. Who's going to win, Ben? You think West or Mountain? West?
Mountain.
Mountain. Well, thank you guys so much for joining the podcast, and it's been fun. We got a whole more day of fun at the Little League World Series, but first, we're going to get rolling on our podcast. You guys ready?
Ready.
Give me some.
All right.
There we go.
Ben.
Thank you, guys.
There you go, Alex.
Thank you.
Here we go, guys.
You know, and it's worth noting, too, my father-in-law's other grandchild, my daughter McKinley, we got a video sent from my wife, Emily, of McKinley watching the coverage of the Little League World Series with my dad on, and she is 1 year old, mind you, going,
Just turn one.
pop, 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 pointing at the TV and pointing at you on TV.
Well,
Who's that?
that was touching. It brought a little tear to my eye. And
Yeah.
it does, even though it was very personal to me. I saw umpire Jerry Davis last night at the game. And Jerry Davis had the same thing happen to him at a game. Jerry was a major league umpire for years, and his granddaughter saw him on TV once and looked at him and said, "Umpa." So that is his. So I'm Pop, others are Grandpa. He's Umpa because that's what his granddaughter said when she saw him on TV for the first time.
That might go down in history as the best grandfather name of all time.
Of course.
Umpa.
Organic. It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. So we're going to talk so much more about the Little League World Series today, but we're also going to talk to Todd Frazier, the king of the Little League World Series. But first, let's get into the takeaways on what's going on in Major League Baseball. Then we'll get back to Little League World Series action.
Right. Of course, Jeff, the only takeaway from this week is the Little League World Series, because last night we played the Little League Classic, the Tigers against the Yankees, and this is how beautifully everything lines up. Tigers come in on the bus yesterday. I'm on the bus with them, which I'll tell you about later. It was fabulous. So they go play the game, and the Tigers win 3-2 in 10 innings. It was a great game. So I'm walking around before the game here in the concourse and then over at Bowman Field, and I run into this couple who had driven all the way from Michigan to see the Tigers play.
Wow.
And for them to come here for the first time. This is what Williamsport does. So they said, we're here to see Zach McKinstry. He's a friend of ours, and
Right.
we can't wait to watch him play tonight. So I saw Zach McKinstry go down the hill just like Ben did.
Right.
Major league player wearing his Zach McKinstry jersey. He goes down the hill on a piece of cardboard. It's a ritual. It's a tradition.
Yeah.
Even the players have to do it. And then, of course, he ties the game in the Little League Classic with a single in the 10th inning, and then they won on a walk-off single. That's how great the Little League Classic was between the Yankees and the Tigers, and everything tied together.
It really is special. And, you know, a walk-off bottom of the 10th game winner. Can you imagine having a better ending to a game?
No, there was no better ending to a game in Williamsport. There were a million other takeaways from this week, Jeff, but we're only going to do a couple because we want to keep this theme completely with the Little League World Series. But Sunday, the A's and the Giants played what looks like to be the final game in the Bay Bridge series, the A's against the Giants.
Right.
Because this is the A's last year, in theory, year in Oakland, and they're going to move, in theory, to Sacramento and then go and play in Las Vegas. So this was the 147th meeting between the two teams. And I'm sorry, Jeff, I'm just a little sad about this because I've been to a few Bay Bridge series games, and they're great. And now there's a good chance they're over, and that makes me sad. The other thing that makes me kind of sad, Jeff, is that the White Sox were eliminated from the playoffs on Saturday. That's the middle of August. They are out of playoff contention because we know how historically bad they have been. And this serves to a point. They beat the Yankees in a game recently, 12-2. And I read the headline from the game, and it said, White Sox stun the Yankees, all right? And what have I taught you about baseball all these years, Jeff? There's no such thing as a stunning upset, right?
No, and that's because the season is so long and it is so difficult to play that sometimes Aaron Judge won't get a hit for 3 games, and he's arguably the best hitter in the game right now.
Right.
And that goes to show the difficulty of baseball.
Right, and good teams lose to bad teams all the time. There is no such thing. Stunning is when, you know, a heavily favored basketball team by 40 points loses a game. It shouldn't happen in baseball, but that's what happened.
Yeah, and so do you have more takeaways, or do you want to move on?
That's it. We're moving on to the Game Changer.
Well, the Game Changer of the week, we do it every week here on the show, but now it's fitting, Dad, because we are with Game Changer and our friends at Dick's Sporting Goods as well. That's where we're broadcasting live from gc.com to sign your team up today. You can do a live score, or you can do a live stream. Game Changer is incredible. We absolutely love them. And thank them again for having us at their setup here at the Little League World Series. So who's the Game Changer of the week?
Well, Williamsport is the game changer, Jeff, because coming to the Little League World Series changes your life. You came here last year for the first time.
Yep.
What was it like when you walked in here for the first time?
I have to say, it's way bigger than you expect being here in person than it looks like on TV. But I'll also say, it is the most fun for kids and adults alike. I see grown men trading pins. Todd Frazier, our guest today, trades more pins than any 12-year-old out there.
And he trades them with 12-year-old at 10 o'clock at night or whenever the time comes.
I think that's the important thing to remember is Williamsport is for everyone. It's for everybody to feel like a kid again. That's what I love about it.
Right. I love it too. And I meet dozens and dozens, hundreds of people here every year, and I meet fathers and sons and mothers and daughters and grandfathers and grandsons who have never been here before. Last year, I met these 4 knucklehead guys who are all in their late 30s, and they spend every year now at Williamsport, and it's kind of a golf trip also because they play golf around here, and they do all sorts of stuff, but and they're all married with children, but they all come to Williamsport because this is where they want to come to watch baseball. They could probably go anywhere. This is where they've chosen. And I loved it last night that A.J. Hinch, the manager of the Tigers, on Sunday night, he had never been here before, and he said exactly what you said. TV doesn't do it justice. The minute you walk in here, it's way bigger than you think it is. And then he told me something I didn't know. He came 1 out away as a 12-year-old from qualifying to come here and play. And
What?
He said, yes, it was like the greatest regret of his life. He came this close
Wow.
to going to Williamsport as a 12-year-old, which, as we know, Jeff, it changes a 12-year-old's
No doubt.
life. For the rest of their lives, they're going to be able to say, I played at Williamsport. And it doesn't matter if you win or lose or get a hit or anything. You were here. You played here. And so AJ was just so thrilled to be in here. And I'll never forget, Tito Francona was the same way. The first time he came here, he came to work at ESPN for 1 year. And, Jeff, he had it built into his contract that he had to cover the Little League World Series in Williamsport. Otherwise, he wasn't taking the job.
Wow.
And so he spends one Williamsport trip here, absolutely loved it. And he's from Western Pennsylvania. And he said, famously, at least for me, this is where baseball meets the county fair. And what a perfect description. Joe Madden, Hall of Fame manager with the Cubs, 2016, also grew up in Pennsylvania.
Hazelton.
Right, and had never been here until the Cubs came here. And he looked at me and he said, I can't believe all these years I've never come to this place. And he said, I can't believe that the field is at the bottom of a mountain. Like, he didn't even see it on TV, how that mountain just overpowers everything here. And it's so great. And I told you the best part now is when the major leaguers come in, because the interaction with the kids is just fabulous. So I came in Sunday on the Tigers bus, okay? So I'm interviewing Tiger players and kids on the bus, and I'm there with Riley Green sitting right behind. Riley Green's a really good player.
And a great country singer.
Right. Oh, really?
Another country singer like Kurkjian and
there
all
we
of
go.
that,
All right.
another
So
name.
Riley Green is telling a Little League kid who he's sitting right next to, the kid keeps asking him questions like, what time do you get to the ballpark? How do you prepare? When do you do your stretching? This kid was really interested, and Riley is telling him everything about his preparation. It was fascinating. And then in the back of the bus, Kerry Carpenter, really good hitter for the Tigers, is back there going through all the best pitchers that he has faced this year and takes these kids through an at-bat against Garrett Cole, like what it's like to face him. You know, he's throwing 98. He's going to try to beat me away on the first pitch, and then he throws that slider. I mean, it was just beautiful for these kids to be sitting in the back of the bus with a major league player. And also, as we know, Jeff, kids can say just about anything, which is, they have no filter because they're 12. They don't know.
Right.
So Chris Archer, great guy, came here with the Pirates several years ago. And Chris Archer told me that one of the kids came up to him. Chris was having a difficult year. And one of the kids just naively said to him, aren't you the guy who gives up all the home runs? And Chris Archer said, yeah, I'm the guy
That's me.
who gives up all the home runs. And only a kid would say that to a major league player.
And only can a kid say that to
and
a major
only
league
would
player.
Chris Archer, instead of being upset, had a big laugh about it.
Yeah.
And last year, Bryce Harper was here, and one of the kids, doesn't matter which one, he was great here. And Bryce Harper had seen him play earlier in the day. And the kid is now sitting at the Little League Classic game at night. It's the major league game. And the kids are right next to the field. So they're literally 5 feet away from the on-deck circle. And Bryce Harper goes to home plate to take a major league at bat. And that kid who hit the home run is sitting right there. And Bryce Harper stops and says, I hope I hit the ball in this at bat as hard as you hit the ball today. I mean, seriously, what kind of thrill would that be? And last thing, Jeff, Sunday, Little League Classic Day. I saw Aaron Judge enter the ballpark, and he was just besieged with children. And knowing him, he would like to sign for everyone. But, they got to get him out of here. Otherwise, he'll never make it to the game on time. But as I wandered around after he left, I saw a kid maybe 10 years old, and he was weeping. And I was worried, like maybe he's 10,
lost,
but maybe he's lost his parents. So I stopped him and I said, are you okay? He goes, yeah, I'm okay. I just got Aaron Judge's autograph.
Oh.
And he was crying. It was like the sweetest thing I've ever seen.
Well, and this place embodies the kids' love of the game. That's what it's all about. And all of the parents, this is what I love the most, they step back and they realize this is for the kids, right? They let the kids rush. There are parents who are fans of baseball. Look at two of them right here. But it's all about the kids having those moments,
but when the adults come here, they have all watched this game on TV for years and years and years. And I've told you, Jeff, the Little League World Series is on in every major league clubhouse in America because everyone remembers what he was like at age 12, and that's what makes it so beautiful.
So now we have the Kurkjians. This is the quirky things happening in baseball right now. What do you have for us?
All right, well, we have to continue at least at the beginning with the theme of the Little League World Series. So Ben Ward, one of our producers at ESPN, sent me this. I was way ahead of Ben on this, but thank you anyway. Sunday night in the game, there were 3 pitchers who had a single-digit number, okay? Marcus Stroman started for the Yankees. He wore number 0, and then Bo Brisky and Shelby Miller came into the game. So we had 3 pitchers in the game last night that wore a single-digit number. I think I've seen that before, and it's possible there's been a game where 4 did it, but thank you, Ben Ward, for alerting me to this.
He knew you would love that kind of stuff.
Right. Also, Jeff, and this is a little negative, but it just speaks to the degree of difficulty of the game. Through Sunday, we had 131 players, 131 different instances of a player striking out 4 times in a game. So I went back to the Elias and said, give me some context to that. From 1950 to 1957, that's 8 years inclusive, there were a total of 124 individual 4 strikeout games in an 8-year period. And we're 4 months into this season, and we have 131. And 5 of them are by Tyler O'Neill of the Red Sox. The record in one season is 7 4 strikeout games by Richie Allen in 1965.
This is the beauty of Little League World Series. We are in the fan zone at the Dick's Sporting Goods and GameChanger tent, and they have just opened the fan zone. So this is the fun of this podcast, but just so you know, if you start hearing kids taking BP or stuff going on in the background, that's what's happening, and it's a beautiful part of getting to do the podcast here. Just wanted to make people know that that's
and
what's
we got
going
some
on.
kids hitting over there, believe me.
we do.
All right, so Billy Wagner, who's going to be a Hall of Famer this year. It's his last year on the ballot, one of the great closers ever, hardest pitcher to hit relief-wise in the history of the game. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. His son, Will Wagner, made his major league debut this week, and he did it for the Toronto Blue Jays, and he got 3 hits in his major league debut, and that's really cool. But the only 2 Blue Jays ever to get 3 hits in their major league debut are Pat Borders, Hall of Fame, World Series hero, and Danny Ainge.
Wow.
And Danny Ainge, of course, was one of the great NBA basketball players. Boston Celtics won a championship there. People forget that he was a really good baseball player who played in the big leagues before he played in the NBA.
Back-to-back weeks with great NBA players making it onto a Kurkjian for Is This a Great Game or What?
Yes, absolutely. We love it. Dave DeBusschere was last week, and this week it's Danny Ainge.
Will you continue it next week?
Of course,
Find
yes.
out.
All right, Jeff, we had another cycle, too, okay?
Yep.
Weston Wilson of the Phillies, your team, hit for the cycle in his 24th career major league game. So one more time, Jeff. Give me the 4 players.
Oh, no.
Don't give me the we do this on every episode.
I always get nervous.
Who did not hit for the cycle? So now Weston Wilson could say, I did what 4 guys didn't do.
Hank Aaron.
Right?
Ted Williams.
No,
Barry Bonds.
Yes.
Willie Mays.
Yes.
And Babe Ruth.
Yes.
There it is. Why do I always throw Ted Williams in there?
When you think Willie Mays, the next answer is always Hank Aaron.
Yep.
And then Babe Ruth and Barry Bonds are kind of hooked in their own way, too. So Cliff Heathcote in in the early 1900s, hit for the cycle in his 6th major league game. So Weston Wilson in his 24th game was not the fewest games ever to hit for a cycle. Cliff Heathcote, so he played in 6 games in his career, and those 4 guys you mentioned played in a million games and never hit for the cycle. And he did it, Weston Wilson, out of the 8th spot in the order. Sounds a little down in the order to hit for the cycle, but Jake Bauers, 2019, was the last player to hit for the cycle out of the 8th spot in the order.
And it's worth noting, Weston Wilson, his very first career at bat, hit a home run.
That's absolutely right.
And he is only one of 4 players to hit a home run in his first at bat and hit for a cycle.
Is that right?
I came with a Kurkjian today, folks.
Jeff, I am so proud of you.
No big deal. Thank you. I don't know the other 3, but...
Right. All right, and speaking of 8th in the order, the number 9 spot in the order, Dairon Blanco of the Royals, the other day hit 2 homers and drove in 7 runs out of the number 9 spot in one game. So he's the 4th guy to do that in the last 20 years, and the first since Bobby Dahlbeck did it in 2021. And Jeff, you know how much I love names, how they match up in all sorts of places. So this week, Daniel Hudson and Brian Hudson were the pitchers of record in a major league game. So the winning pitcher was named Hudson, losing pitcher was named Hudson, and I was surprised to hear that had happened before. In 2012, Daniel Hudson and Tim Hudson were the winning and losing pitcher in a game in 2012. I thought it must be the only time a guy named Hudson and Hudson won or lost a game.
Well, I think that's impressive, but I want to know when was the last time a Johnson and Johnson did. We could call it the lotion game.
There are a lot of other games. We've got quite
Lots
a few.
Of Johnsons.
And this is my last one, and I get a kick out of little things like this. But Jorge Soler, in an at-bat, he's playing now for the Braves, faced Robbie Ray of the Giants. So it was a Solar Ray at-bat. Is that a stretch, Jeff? Is that a push?
That's a stretch, but it's good. It made me laugh. Caught me off guard.
It's a Kurkjian, so there we go.
And we love it. All right, so our Kurkjian Quandary, we do this every week. It's all about Little League because we are here with our friends at GameChanger. Our Kurkjian Quandary is a fun one that we created, and we're going to ask Todd Frazier this very same quandary, so make sure you keep listening to hear his interview. All right.
I don't even think it's a quandary, but I'm a baseball guy and I have no other talent. But here's where we go, and you're going to help me with this. Number one, you're a 12-year-old kid, so you can't be an adult. You're 12, all right? So you have to put yourself in that spot. Number one, you win American Idol as a 12-year-old.
Wow.
Number two, you have, this is your idea, 1 million followers on TikTok.
And you delivered that perfectly.
What does that mean?
Well, TikTok's a great app. It's a lot of people, a lot of these kids are using TikTok these days.
What are they using it for? You would have 1 million followers for what? The way you dance, the way you sing, the way you...
All of the above. The way you create content, all of that stuff. And, 1 million followers can lead to making some money. So there's that, too. Just like American Idol.
Obviously, there's a financial aspect to this. Number 3 is age 12, you are a star on a network sitcom.
Right.
And number 4 is age 12, you hit a walk-off home run to win the Little League World Series.
Man.
All right, now Jeff, to me, this is just me, I don't care how much money's involved, how much fame's involved, I'm taking the walk-off homer in the Little League World Series. But to repeat, would you take that, winning American Idol, 1 million followers on TikTok, or the star of a network sitcom?
I think this is a great quandary because I can make the argument for the network sitcom because that is setting you up. If you're the biggest show on Netflix or you're the biggest show on any of these streaming apps, this could set you up for the rest of your life and the rest of your career.
I will answer the question. What are you going to take?
I have to take being a 12-year-old here and hitting it's never been done before.
I don't believe it has.
Home run to win.
Jeff, this is, again, the point of the Little League World Series. You are playing for your town here.
Right.
In some cases, you're playing for your region or your state. In other cases, you're playing for your entire country. Can you imagine being a kid from a tiny country and you barely made it here and the entire country is watching you play here and you hit a walk-off home run to win the Little League World Series? This is the worst quandary we've ever done because to me,
it's the best.
It's a great one, but to me, there is no quandary. I'm taking the walk-off homer every time.
Visit greatgamerwhat.com if you want to respond. And also on X, on Instagram, on Facebook, at greatgamerwhat. Give us a follow. We're always posting videos up from the podcast. So if you want to see the podcast, you can also watch on YouTube. The Best of All Tim, that is where we create a team. And Dad, this week, I love the Best of All Tim. It's Major League Baseball players who played here at Little League World Series Go position by position. What do you got?
Yeah, this was really hard. We had to leave a lot of really good major league players off. There were a lot of honorable mentions on this team, but our catcher is Jason Varitek, another one of those guys who played in the Little League World Series and in the Major League World Series. Boog Powell was our first baseman. Of course, he did both of those also. Second baseman is Jonathan Scope.
Okay.
The third baseman, of course, is our friend Todd Frazier, and our guest on the podcast coming up a little bit later in the show. The shortstop is Ruben Tejada, and I had to keep off a lot of shortstops for him. Jason Bay from Canada is in the outfield. Cody Bellinger and Gary Sheffield, one of the greatest hitters in baseball, but also one of the greatest hitters that has ever come through the Little League World Series. DH, I used Michael Conforto. Now, I didn't have a million pitchers, but I kept it to 4 starters. Lance Lynn, Jason Marquis, who was here the other day from New York. I sat right next to him over there at Volunteer. We talked all about his experience here. He threw out the first pitch. It was great. Rick Wise, who I told you last week, pitched a no-hitter in the major leagues and hit 2 homers in the same game. And Wilson Alvarez, who also pitched a no-hitter in a major league game. I was at that game too. And our relievers are Yusmeiro Petit and Ed Vosberg, and we even have a current manager, Kevin Cash of the Tampa Bay Rays, played in this tournament.
Well, Dad, I have a surprise for you. It's a great best of all, Tim.
You're not going to ambush me with something,
No,
are you?
no ambushing. Don't worry. Working with our friends at Strat-O-Matic, they're the market leader in sports simulations. We took your best of all, Tim, for the Little League World Series and did a 7-game series against the current-day New York Yankees.
So you took the team that I came up with here.
Yep.
And what are you, taking their best year? How are you doing this?
So the way that they do their sports simulations is depending on how much they played in the league, they take the best 7 years and kind of they don't want them to be this crazy player, right? They don't want these players to be better than they were. They kind of take an average of their best 7 seasons. So it's a pretty accurate depiction. It's not their best year. It's not their worst year. They kind of take from both, if that makes sense. So in a 7-game series, the current-day New York Yankees, who played in the Little League Classic on Sunday night against the Tigers, how do you think that team did against the current-day New York Yankees? 7-game series.
All right, well, the Yankees are good enough to win the World Series this year, but, I got 2 former MVPs on this team, Boog Powell and Cody Bellinger. I've got Gary Sheffield, who for me should be in the Hall of Fame. I got a pretty good... All right, I still think the Yankees are going to win.
Little League takes the 7-game series in 5
Strat-O-Matic
games.
ran the simulation, and this team beats the Yankees in 5 games.
Cody Bellinger batted .417 in the 5-game series.
How did our boy Todd Frazier do? Did they send anything?
Todd Frazier hit a homer in Game 4.
Oh, my God.
Gary Sheffield hit multiple home runs, I think 5 in the entire simulation for the 5-game series, including 2 in 1 game. It's unbelievable.
Well, again, maybe I should have recognized, Jeff, just how impressive it is, this list of Major League players who have come through here. It is really cool. And I'm surprised they beat the Yankees, but being here, I'm happy that they beat the Yankees.
Yeah,
and
it's
thank
pretty
you to
special.
Strat-O-Matic for that.
Yeah, Strat-O-Matic, thank you for always helping us out. If there is a sports simulation you want on this show, shout out Amy Green. You can always send in a Strat-O-Matic simulation if you want. GreatGameOrWhat.com. Just chime in right there. Your 10th Little League World Series, covering it for ESPN. It's only my 2nd, but I want to hear from you your stories from here.
Well, we have to go back to my first one since this is 10. It's very symmetrical. And, Jeff, you know how bad I am when I get off of my feet, and you know how afraid I am of heights. So I had to go down the hill the first year.
Right.
It's a tradition here.
Symbolic.
Right. You have to do this. So I'm at the top of the hill with a piece of cardboard, and it's looking a little steep to me. And I repeat, I'm an old man, and I'm afraid of heights, and I'm a little bit hesitant to go down. And there's this kid right there with a giant piece of cardboard, and he says, I'll show you how to do this. Just watch me do it. That's what he said to me. So before he goes down, I said, how old are you? He said, I'm 4. So I was 57 at the time. and a 4-year-old told me and showed me how to go down. So I got on a piece of cardboard, butt first, not head first, and I went down the hill and made it safely. I haven't been down since because there's no reason, especially with an artificial hip, for me to try to do that again. The other thing, and this is really personalized to Jeff, but the first year I was here, I had to do a piece and like kind of work out with the players. I took infield with them, I took batting practice, and I had to throw batting practice. And there was a kid here from Pennsylvania named Cole Wagner, who is still the best 12-year-old hitter I've ever seen.
Wow.
So I go to his dad, who played pro ball, and I said, as part of this piece I'm doing on TV, I need to throw BP to your son. So I said, trust me, I am actually good at this. I've thrown a lot of BP in my life.
Right.
Don't worry, I'm not going to hit your son. I'm not going to hurt your son. And the dad looks at me and he goes, we're not worried about him getting hurt. They were afraid that the son was going to hit a line drive back at me and kill the dinky little sports writer.
With an L screen.
Right. He told me 3 times, the dad did, Tim, make sure you get behind the screen. And he told his son 3 times, Cole, whatever you do, pull it. So I threw 5 strikes, all dead center, and he had 5 rockets into the screen to right field, coming nowhere near me. But I always got such a kick out of that. That was my first one. This is my 10th one, and I repeat, this has been my favorite one because I'm doing it here with my son, and also because we have Todd Frazier as our guest.
Todd Frazier joins the podcast coming up next.
Welcome back to Is This a Great Game or What? And our guest this week is our dear friend, Todd Frazier. Really good Major League player. Played in the 2020 Olympics, won the Home Run Derby, and is the king of Williamsport, having been a champion here. Todd, this is my son, Jeff.
Jeff, how you doing, big dog?
Good to see
Always
you,
good to
dude.
see you,
Good
too.
to see you.
All right, so every day, Jeff, I learn more about Todd Frazier. And yesterday I found out that he's a basketball referee, which you
Oh,
know
my
I love
gosh.
basketball referees.
Oh,
so let's see your style, Todd. Number 22 on the push. Show me how you call it.
So, while I'm seated here, listen, you always have to have a backup plan first as a referee in case somebody falls down,
Right.
in case of an injury.
Right.
So the biggest thing for me, Tim, as you understand, we don't want extension on the hands, okay? We need these arms there. So it's tight elbow, two, turn it with the hip. Now we need extension here, because if we do it twice, it's just you get overzealous. Here, with the hit, subs in, okay? I had, and I know I talked to you about this, I had one of the most craziest calls, and you know what? It was a scrimmage, let alone
Right.
a high school basketball JV scrimmage.
Right.
But listen, I take my stuff serious, as you know.
Of course.
So, minor leagues, off season, I want endurance. So, my dad and mom are in the school system, so it's an easy out for me. They need referees. I'm going to go out there and do the scrimmage. The other guy's like, I don't want to do any of that. So my buddy Jim, it's me and him doing it. Older guy, he trips. Now, the biggest thing about, I'm down below on the baseline. It's a fast break. I got to book it, okay? So I go, Jim, I got this. Yeah. Jim's on the ground. I said, Jim, don't worry. I'm booking it here. Bang, bang, play. It was a charge. I say charge. It was player control or a block. I'm high stepping it. Block, block, block. There! And I had to scream it because I didn't know if Jim was there or not. I said, there! 2-1. See the turn? Body. And now listen, the subs tried coming in. I said, no, not yet. We got 2 here. Backhand 2.
Backhand 2. This isn't
No.
right.
2 shots. Subs. Hold your time. And Jim, I had the referee the rest of that game on myself. He rolled his ankle.
Because he was hurt.
Oh, man.
Todd,
But
did you go to referee school?
I did not go to
You picked up watching games? Is that what happened?
Listen, Tomas Vera, he's a strength coordinator, a physician with the Reds still right now.
Right.
He gave me a referee shirt and a real whistle, and I still use that to this day. So
Wow.
Really?
I got to give him a little credit.
You know, this is very self-serving, but I was a Little League umpire for years. and I had my home plate umpire. I was doing the bases. Home plate umpire goes down because a kid let go of a bat in a way.
Yes,
hit
of
the
course.
umpire, God bless his heart, 70 years old, went down. I'm at second, and there's going to be a play at the plate. And Todd, I'm not kidding. I wish I looked as cool as you did. I was calling out as I was halfway to the mound.
Listen,
and it was the most dysfunctional looking umpire you've ever seen.
Listen, I've seen more dysfunctional umpires. You ain't got to worry. I umpired too in Little League too.
Yeah.
When I was in college, I would come home try and help the Little League out.
Yeah.
But I had the big baggie. Remember the big baggie?
Oh,
I look like McClellan, you know, the 6'9", 6'10" umpire. Come up. He's one of the most quietest guys.
Right.
But your strike 3 call, you want to be emphatic.
Right.
So with the baggie, I'd rip the baggie and go, got him! Just like that. As you can see, you have to let him know. One time, I had a dad bark at me down line, and I remember George Bell. He was the acting umpire, the head of the umpires in Little League. He goes, "Hey Todd, if they get after you, toss him." I'm 16 years old. It was a playoff game. Rung his son up. Might have been a few inches off, but he was barking at me. Bro. So now I understand why umpires kind of get back. He goes, "You got to be kidding me!" I said, "Not another word." So I had the begging, not another word. Kept chirping. I tossed him. I felt terrible. I said, "Hey, you got to leave." You can't start the game until he leaves. He wouldn't leave the dugout. So I didn't know what to do.
And you're 16 years
16 years old.
Yeah.
I got the baggie on one knee sitting there. I'll wait until you leave.
Right.
Give me, all right, last one. Give me an emphatic out call at first base.
Oh, yeah. So first, you ready? So first you see it coming. Eyes on here, but making sure you see the foot touch, right? Here, foot's on the bag, it's coming. Just like that, boom. So when that happens, you let everybody know. Hold it, step back, turn. You don't want to argue with you. You want to make sure your back's turned.
Right.
Now you turn around. Not another word, coach.
All right.
Batter's out.
While you're up, just give us the block call for 5 feet. Don't do it for 30 feet.
The block call from
Just
5 feet.
Show us the block call.
Subs, not yet. We got a block here.
You know, my dad had told me that he was going to want you to do that on video,
my
and
gosh.
it is better than I
Man.
thought.
Oh,
Tom, my favorite call as a Little League umpire was safe off the bag, because very selfishly, it was the only time where you could make that call. It is safe off the bag!
Oh, you went up with
Well,
it.
if he was rising up, right, if the first
how
baseman
would you
off,
do it?
Yeah,
well, if the first
no.
baseman jumps off in the
Right.
air, then he's lifting him up in the air. If he's
I like
off
it
to the
here.
side,
Huh, interesting.
so that was always
when
fun
it
for
does
me.
come up, usually no matter what, they code
They
this
swipe
way
it.
with it, whether it's up or
Yeah,
across.
maybe I've done it wrong.
Listen, and we never, like you said, never went to school for it. We
Yeah.
use our eyes, we use
Yep.
our ears.
Watching
doubt.
the game is so
Boom.
important. And
Wow.
Jeff, you may not know this, but every time Todd and I do a Little League game and the count goes to 2-2, we both in the press box go like this.
We lean.
2 and 2. We lean a little bit to the right.
Got that from your pop.
Right. Yeah,
Oh,
Ravi
God.
does it too now. That's how great
You'll
it
hear
is.
it probably 8 times tonight on the
I
broadcast.
believe it.
Enough of umpires and
Oh.
officials. Now, Todd, don't you be humble here.
Yeah.
You sang a Frank Sinatra song yesterday, Fly Me to the Moon. Please, just give us a couple bars. He can really sing.
Yes, he
Listen, I'm an okay singer. At the end of that, thank you for that's a great compliment. Again, we talk about a backup plan. You're out with the gal. It gets a little awkward, you know. Guys like, "Oh, well, where are you from? How many siblings you got?" Blah blah blah. You're eating. All of a sudden, it's like, I don't know what to do. Fly me to the moon. And you look in her eyes a little bit. You're like, let me play amongst those stars. You know. And then all of a sudden, you get back in the conversation. That's it. You know, it's real.
But Todd, Jeffrey's a great singer. He
we
was
should
in
collab.
the choir.
I know. I did the choir for a couple of years.
Todd, you're from Toms River, New Jersey.
I
You're
know.
a great athlete.
Thank you.
And you're in the choir. How
Yeah.
did that go? Did any of your teammates ever look at you and go like, what are you doing?
They all thought I was crazy. I was so energetic. I was so nuts. My wife always asked, she's like, listen, how are you in the clubhouse? I said, honey, you'll never know anything about what happened in the clubhouse. Because it's like your asylum there, you know? It's something like what happens in the clubhouse stays in the clubhouse. And it was just something that I would sing to the guys. You know, if we were down in the dumps, I would just mess with somebody. You know, it just was in my nature to do that. And some guys liked it, some guys didn't. But hopefully at the end of the day, they said, you know what? He competed at all costs.
You know, we had Eddie Alvarez on the show.
Oh, what a great guy. He's a beauty.
The best. We had him for our Olympic show. He's obviously two-time Olympian in two completely unrelated sports, which is just crazy. But
speed skating and baseball.
Incredible.
He showed us a video of you singing Arabian Nights.
He thought that was it was the funniest.
We told him we
Do
had
you remember
booked.
doing that for those guys?
We were just sitting there waiting to get on the bus, and I'm on my phone, and I knew he was filming me, and he kind of turned
selfie,
it.
Yeah.
And I was like, Arabian Nights, like Arabian days.
Spot on.
Listen,
Spot on.
it's not even the words either. The second part's not even the words. It's just what I'm comfortable singing.
Oh,
And
God.
I still watch that video from time to time.
That is so
when
beautiful.
I need a smile.
All right, now Doug Holmes, our director, said when I
shoot.
told him today we're interviewing Todd Frazier, he said make sure he does Mickey Mouse for you. Todd, you got to do it. We're at Williamsport. Give us your Mickey Mouse.
Oh, since we're at Williamsport, I got to do it.
Of course, everything is on board here.
So, backstory, my kids love watching Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. And I'm sitting there, I'd probably watch 100 episodes over the years at least. And, you know, you just hear Mickey, and, you know, like, in the beginning, you know, you'd start talking, you're like, he says, all right, let's go. And you're like, all right. And now you got to keep getting higher and higher. All right. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, all right, let's go. Oh, goof off, pal. You know? And then he's like, oh, Pluto, come on, gang. Let's go. You know, so,
Unbelievable.
it's just something I brought up. I actually, long story short, Pelfrey. Remember Mike Pelfrey?
Of course.
Right-handed pitcher,
Right.
tall guy.
Really good hitting pitcher.
We were
Right.
playing cards in the hotel, and Derek Howell and I were playing. He goes, man, my kid's bugging me a little bit. And I heard Mickey Mouse on the phone in the background. And I'm like, give me the phone. So I go, Mike, I got this. He's like, all right, whatever, Frazier. How we go? And I'm like, tell him that Mickey Mouse is next to you and you're hanging out with him and he wants to talk to him. Long story short, kid's whining. He's like, what, Dad? I'm like, hey, pal, it's Mickey Mouse. And he's like, Dad, FaceTime me, I'm like, oh, shoot, we're in trouble. So I said, don't worry, put him on FaceTime. He's like, listen, Mickey Mouse, he's getting ready for bed, but we'll FaceTime and I'll let him. So we pretended like I was in the door so we can see him like, hey, pal, what you crying about, bud? Long story short, kid stopped crying, went to bed. He was so happy. It was just a nice little fun story, but I can make kids happy too with Mickey Mouse.
Absolutely.
So, Todd, this is like your safe haven. This place is magical. For
Yes.
anybody who's listening or watching the podcast, make it a thing to be here next
Yes,
year.
for sure.
Because it is so special. It is so beautiful. And you, in the words of my dad, are the biggest 12-year-old in the world. And
Well, he is.
I'm seen as a
That's a
compliment
compliment.
Yeah,
because
here,
we
especially.
just, I don't know if you saw the triplets on Australia pin.
yes, yes.
Do you have one of these yet?
I got it before your dad did, of course.
Of course.
But at the end of the day, the Australian coaches are awesome. So
Yeah.
everybody does love your dad too. He's a joy to be around,
Yeah.
put smiles. So guy came out, he said, hey there, Timmy. Go to pin for you, pal. And boom, lo and behold, Tim he usually gets me all his pins, but that one there, one of the biggest collectibles you'll see. That pin right there might get you about 10 to 15 pins on a trade.
It's incredible. And you have how many pins at your house?
I would say roughly 6,000 to 7,000 pins.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
And Todd, you've used your home theater as a
Yes.
place to store them all, correct?
Yeah, so what I'm doing, I laid them on the floor. I got these poster boards where you can set the pins in.
Yeah.
I got them going. I'm going to have them eventually going down my wall, going down the basement to my man cave. So it'll be cool walking down like everybody looking.
So Todd, when you got this one, the triplets, were you really excited because you've never seen this before? Is that how it works?
Very excited. It's just one of those things. When there's a first of something and someone designs a pin of it, it's a hot commodity. There's only 70 made. You and your dad and I are the only, or one of those 70s that have it. So.
It is so cool. Last night, Jeff, we get a little ESPN get together. We're eating, we're having a glass of wine, and he leaves because he goes to trade pins.
I did.
At
That's
10.
amazing.
Where did you go? And how did that work?
The Holiday Inn, man, it's a special place. Steve Strouts with Infinity Pins. He celebrates it all the time, or celebrates it. He gets this room, and I walk in. There's probably 150 people in there. trading pins. I went and I probably got, for the 2 hours I was there, got home around midnight. I would say I got about 60 to 70 pins just on a 2-hour whim.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
And I'll be back there tonight.
Right. That is incredible. So, Todd, you played, obviously, in the Little League World Series.
Yes.
Tom's River won it. What was your biggest takeaway from, of course, the first time you were here?
Yeah, I think, well, the first time I was here in 95, my brother went.
Right.
You know, that's the first time I truly respected and honored the pin trading. He gave me a box of pins. They weren't the best, but it was a kickstart. Now, my brother has to practice. He has to play. There used to be tents here in Williamsport, like one of these we're in now, 4 or 5 of them, and I'm schmoozing every which way. Hey, my brother's on the team. They're going to win it all. Give me your best pin. I got the district pins. I didn't have diddly. So I got probably 100 good pins. They end up coming in third. I'm like, Dad, we have to go the other way because they're going to be looking for me so I get the pin.
Right.
Snuck around.
I made
came
some
back
promises.
3 years later. 5 or 6 old guys like, yo, fork it up. I'm like, I got you, big dog. So
Right. Oh, that's
they
so
didn't
funny.
forget. I gave them our 98 pin, and I said, hey, this time we'll win it all. Not thinking we were going to win it all.
Yeah.
We won the whole darn
But
thing.
Todd, you did win it all. What was that like for a 12-year-old, and what is it like now for you to look back at that?
Incredible. And remember, there was only 4 American teams, 4 international teams. You had to win. So right away, we played an 11-inning game. It was the longest game in the Little League World Series history at that time. I hit a grand slam. We ended up winning. We went 3-0 in U.S. Qualifying games and then end up winning. It was just a whirlwind. We were the smallest team there, but we could rake, man. I led off, and I usually tried calming everybody down with a home run or a double or something, and it usually worked, so it was cool.
You know, we interviewed Johnny Bench, and he said since he can remember, he would tell teachers and people, I'm going to be a Major League Baseball player one day. And a lot of these kids at Williamsport have that dream in your heart. When you
Sure.
were 12, were you thinking the same thing?
100%. And I'll be honest, I got to give credit to my teachers because they're like, you will be. You know, usually
Right.
teachers are, oh, you better find a different resort. I remember Miss Kakovich, Mr. Guido, or Guido, his name was. It's a great name. Just to name a few, are saying, like, you got this.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, you know, that confidence exudes. And I thank my brothers, too, all the time. They used to kick my butt, so it was great.
So, Todd, after you won it all, you got to go on the field at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
Tell us that story.
Yeah, honestly, it was incredible. I was a huge Paul O'Neill fan. That was the first guy we saw. We're sitting underneath the stadium, waiting to talk to everybody, and Paul O'Neill comes in. I was just like, holy cow. Got his autograph, gave him a big hug. Lo and behold, Paul O'Neill's like a buddy of mine now, which is even more incredible because I played for Cincinnati. He'd come to the games. And then standing next to Derek Jeter, stood next to him. I got to play in my first All-Star game in 14 and his last All-Star game in 14. We took that picture again, and it just made for great conversation, too.
Wow. That's incredible.
So, Todd, you won the home run derby. You've done some amazing things in baseball. You played in the Olympics. Where does this place rank in your all-time highlights?
No pressure.
Yeah, I know. There's a bunch of highlights.
Yeah.
I would say this has to be number one just because it kind of kick-started my career.
Yeah.
Were there other bigger highlights? Because that's the dream I always wanted. Yeah, of course. Home run derby, hitting a home run in the playoffs, stuff like that, hitting a walk-off. But this is what kick-started it all. And I know every person that comes here wants to be a major leaguer, and only a select few have.
So for you, you've been working with my dad here. We started doing this podcast at the beginning of this year. What have you learned about my dad? Sorry, he's going to be like, we got to cut this question out because he never likes it being about him. But what have you learned about working with him? We love him. We adore him. But what quirks do you see in Tim Kurkjian working with him?
I mean, listen here. Sorry, that just came out. That's the quirks that happen. Oh, Todd, you know, you get a hit here at Williamsport, you can say that for the rest of your life. Incredible. Big dog. No.
Yeah.
Is that what I sound like?
My parents
It does.
put my art
Like-
in the inside of the refrigerator.
You sound just like him. It's
I know.
incredible.
People listen to the podcast.
I don't know who's who.
They have to watch, not listen.
Well, here, look at this notebook here, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please.
I've learned to use a notebook. Now, last year, my papers would go up and down.
So they would open like this,
Yes.
Jeff,
Right.
not to the side.
I've learned if you're working with Timmy now, you got to go left to right. So I bought one of those. I used half of it already on, Little League and other stuff. I actually forgot to bring one. I asked him for one. He didn't have it. Now, I found that incredible. He didn't have a backup plan, which, whatever.
I never
move on.
go anywhere without it in my hand.
Yeah.
There is zero chance I'm going to lose this thing. It's the most important thing in my life.
That's incredible. You have your son next to you.
Yeah,
We'll keep that quiet. He's one of the shortest guys you'll ever meet, but I think he's got bigger hands than me. Oh my God, look at that. Incredible.
Wow.
But these hands are cute, though. These are real cute. They're nice and smooth.
Right. They're not strong hands. They're just big
He's
hands.
a big mentor of mine. I don't want to get sentimental, but I look up to this guy. When I work here, he's taught me a lot.
All right, well, thank you, Todd. Tell me, you saw my signature yesterday on a base.
God.
He gets a baseball that has already been signed by me, and he looks at my signature, and what did you say?
Do it real fast, right in front of him, so we can see it
the
happen.
worst signature I've ever seen in my life.
It's terrible.
Scribble-de-dibble-de-doo.
Yeah.
Look at that. So,
What did
if
you
we're
say
looking
when
here-
you saw it the first time?
what did I say? I don't remember.
You couldn't tell if it was what side. What?
I don't know what side it was, up or down. I mean, listen. Tim doesn't know how to do cursive anymore. Just like all these young kids nowadays.
Right.
But I mean, if you get an autograph like that, I'm going, son, guess what? We're gonna pass this over to your nephew, okay?
Right.
That's incredible.
All right, Todd.
We'll work on that.
Yes, thank you. Every year every week we have the Kurkjian quandary, where we ask a different.
I've heard of this.
Yes. So this one, and I think it's the easiest one ever.
Okay.
But this is it. You at age 12, you can win American Idol, and you're a great singer. At age 12, you can have 1 million. Help me here, Jeff. 1 million followers on TikTok.
Yeah.
Did I say that right?
You did that surprisingly well.
Okay. You, at age 12, you can have a part in a network sitcom.
Ooh.
Or at age 12, you can hit a walk-off homer to win the Little League World Series. Now, I know the answer to this, but is this a quandary? Is this a difficult question, or is it easy for you too?
No, it's definitely an easy one for me. It would have to be the walk-off at the Little League World Series.
Absolutely.
I don't really care about the followers.
Right.
Sitcom kind of got me going a little bit. What was the first one again?
The first one was
American Idol.
Yeah, winning American Idol.
That would be the second
And
one.
you're
Number two.
Right.
Yeah, that would be number two.
So speaking of that, Ron Howard played Opie Taylor in the Andy Griffith Show, and I heard him interviewed about 6 months ago about being a kid actor. And he actually, this is in the mid-'60s, he looks it up, and as a kid actor, he's like 7, playing Opie Taylor, and he said, and I made more money that year than Sandy Koufax.
That's incredible.
That's unbelievable.
No, that
and
is.
he felt like guilty. How can a little kid still do that? All right, Todd, back to Williamsport. You met kids in Williamsport that are still friends of yours. Is that correct?
Yeah, man, it's incredible how this goes. Every time I come here, when I played here, I became real close with a kid from Saudi Arabia. We used to send letters to each other, and now, I got kids that have come down here. I see them at travel ball tournaments, and I see them all over the, Northeast playing, and they're like, you remember me? I'm like, of course I remember you, and they're dropping monster home runs now, so it's a family affair. It's a love for the game, and I always tell you this, baseball brings everybody together. It's absolutely incredible.
Even when you don't speak the same language,
Yes.
right?
Oh, and I became close with guys from Chinese Taipei last year. Curacao, the head coach, Jalen Wheel. Remember Jalen Wheel?
Of course.
He still hits me up online. I think he came in second or third this year in the Intermediate World Series. So
you have little leaguers hitting you up online.
all the time, which is cool.
All right, Todd, why do you do this? Why are you still 12 years old? I love it. It's the greatest. But is that just who you are?
It's just who I am, man. I want to show my kids that at 38 years old, I could be a funny-go-lucky guy. I could still be a kid. I want them to act out with their personality in the best way possible and be a goofball, like we're calling a block call, and not worry about what people think, because guess what? I know I made the right call. It's not player control, one arm. It's here. So that's the focus.
Do the player control. It's show it one more time, because there's an art to this too. Watch this.
Well, the problem is with me, I want to use less armage because there's going to be a lot of here, there's going to be a lot of here, there's going to be a lot of here. So it's boom. It's no, sorry. Windshield wiper off.
Right.
And you bring it to right. We go player control, boom, look at him like, that's right, butter, and then we move on.
That's amazing. So you've mentioned all of these amazing kids that get to play and get to come to Little League World Series. Your son is 10, right?
Yeah.
How amazing is it now seeing him come out here in the eyes of a 10-year-old, right? Does it bring you back?
Brings me back. He's a monster pin trader, too.
Yeah.
He loves flying down that hill.
Yep.
So he actually plays up with the 11s. He's our leadoff hitter. So next year would be a big year for him to kind of make it. We have a really good team. The other Tom Driver team is pretty good, too. So getting out of the district is going to be tough. But he can play. Little second baseman, left-handed hitter. He can bunt really well. And I see it in his eyes whenever he's here. He would love to play.
Right. So Todd, when you watch your own son play, what are you? Are you a nervous wreck?
Oh.
I mean, because I was a nervous wreck watching him and his sister play. Is that the way you are?
Anybody who knows me and Tom Driver knows I get on my son a lot more than I get on the other kids. You expect more out of your kid, even though he plays well. He's not hitting the home runs yet. That eventually will come, the power. But he's the trendsetter, the starter. It's like, come on, man, take some pitches, do whatever. And it's funny, like he'll come in and complain, and I'll give him the look. I'm like, it's your fault. I kind of give it to him. I'm like, swing the bat, constructively. But I got to remember, like, that was me one time. And sometimes I sit back, I'm like, all right, get him next time. Inside, I just want to, scream and shout. So it's a lot harder doing that.
Was that how your dad was with you at age 10 and 12?
My dad was 6'8", so he's a big guy. He never really coached me, which I thought was great.
Right.
He would always be in the outfield. He never wanted to be around everybody. And eventually I found out why. Because, can we curse on this or no?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, so this guy, he was incredible. He'd be in the outfield. He's like, oh, I wanted to cheer on my own. I would talk to myself. I'm like, sounds about right, because I talk to myself a lot too. But when I would get out, he'd be like, now I can actually say stuff out loud without anybody hearing. He's like, son of a, what the hell are you doing? Wake the hell up, you little And I'm like, Dad, thank you for telling me that.
Right.
I'm glad you stayed out in the outfield, though.
Well, Buddy Bell's dad, Gus Bell, former major leaguer.
Love Gus Bell.
Gus used to park his car beyond the center field fence and watch Buddy play alone so he could watch in peace. And he said, Buddy told me when I made a good play, he'd honk the horn once. When I made a great play, he'd honk it twice.
Stop it.
I'm serious. Todd, how great is that?
That's incredible.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Okay, thanks.
You're waiting for the second one. You're like,
Yeah.
well, I thought that was a pretty
I thought
good.
he'd trade the third one and be like, you're in deep though.
All right. Anything else, Jeff?
Yeah, my last thing, we talked about pin trading, we talked about playing, and I hate to get, deep with it, but what is Williamsport to you? Like, at your core, it seems like it really is important to you and your family.
Yeah, I think it's togetherness. I think it is family. I think it's a way of growing the game, and I think it's a bond that people have. They understand Williamsport is Mecca. Williamsport is where I can meet people that are the same like me, that are baseball fans.
Yep.
There's no animosity here. There's nobody out to get anybody here. It's come here, talk about baseball, enjoy the game, meet new people from different international fields, and learn something new about somebody. And I think if we learn anything from this, I think the world should be a little bit more like this, because this here is an opportunity to be one and to enjoy this wonderful game of baseball.
It's so
Okay. Last thing now, Jeff. The count is 2-2.
Two.
All three of us at the same time. Ready? Ready? Go.
2-2.
Jeff, you got to lean that way.
Jeff.
Sorry, did I lean the wrong way? I leaned towards you.
You can't teach these kids
No.
anything.
Nothing.
I know you love your dad enough.
Yeah.
Go that way. Here we go.
that way.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
2-2. Let's go. I love it.
Todd, thank you so much. This
Thank
was
you.
even more delightful than I thought.
I'm
it
so
was gonna
great I
be.
got to be on this great show. I appreciate
Oh my gosh.
it.
Thank
right.
you so much, Todd.
We'll see you the next time.
Thank you, Todd Frazier. What an amazing guest for Is This a Great Game or What? This will go down in history as maybe my favorite episode because I got to do it in person at the most magical place on earth, Little League World Series
Right.
Williamsport.
And Todd made us laugh. And Todd made me cry the other day. Got a little tear in my eye. Todd Frazier, you might not be able to see this unless you're on YouTube or whatever, but he made us a pin. Again, Jeff, he has 7,000 pins from the Little League World Series. He keeps them in his home theater. They're all organized, but he made a pin of the broadcast booth with Todd, Carl Ravitch, and myself. This is my favorite broadcast booth that I've ever been in part because Todd Frazier is the father of the Little League World Series. So he made this pin for me and for Ravi, and there are three of them just like it, but ESPN is in red in one, blue in another, white in another. So, Todd, I am absolutely thrilled. And in tonight's game, this afternoon's game, I am broadcasting a game with Todd Frazier and Carl Ravitch, and we are going to wear these pins on the air.
And that pin could get you 15 pins on the open market. So.
I would think that pin could get you way more than 15.
Well, thank you all so much for listening. We were so glad to be here. Thanks to our friends at GameChanger for having us at the Little League World Series. And as always, thank you for being a part of our family.